take too much of your time. So good afternoon, ladies. Welcome to the first masterclass of the Aspiring Entrepreneurs Program. Welcome to the second session of the program, yeah? And it's my delight, it's my pleasure. I'm so excited to have a wonderful woman, an innovation and entrepreneurship expert who has experience in different continents. She's, like I put on my DP, she's Korean by birth. She's African at heart, yeah. She's American by residence, and she also has love for Ireland. Thank you, JENI, and welcome. So let me just read her bio, and I'll just read that quickly. JENI Husa is a founder and consultant at the EI District, a boutique consulting company focused on entrepreneurship, innovation, entrepreneurship entrepreneurship education. She's worked with a lot of startups, a lot of investors and policymakers in the United States, Ireland, and other international markets. She's earned a master's degree in entrepreneurship from the Trinity College Dublin, where she's focused on a global perspective on entrepreneurship ecosystems, process, and outreach education. JENI has worked and consulted for companies in real estate, health, nonprofits, and educational industries. She's helped develop entrepreneurship educational programs for K-12 education and outreach programs for incubators and community members. She's an advocate of diversity, entrepreneurship, and small business creation as the building blocks of economic opportunity. Ladies, you agree with me that we couldn't have gotten anyone better in the whole world to have this first masterclass session on the entrepreneurial mindset. Ladies, please let's say welcome to her. Let's say welcome to JENI. Let's show her some love. Let's show her some love. Let's show her some love. JENI, thank you so much. It's a pleasure. It's a delight to have you facilitate the session. And I'd like to hand over the stage to you. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I'll start to share my screen. Okay. There we go. Okay. My sound is on, yeah?
Yes, it is.
Okay. All right. Hello again to the Pan-African Women's Entrepreneur Network Aspiring Entrepreneurs Program. Thank you so much for having me. I am so excited to be here, but more excited for you to participate in this program. I know there are over 2,000 applications, so feel proud that you are here and take it seriously because that means you're sitting in a seat that someone else wanted. My name is JENI Hauser, and these are all the ways that you can connect with me. I love building community around entrepreneurship, so I hope to see you out there. A little more about me today. I am the founder and consultant of the EI District. It's a boutique consulting company focused on entrepreneurship education and, yes, small businesses. Worked with startups, small businesses, investors, and policymakers in US, Ireland, Oman, and other international markets. I just returned home just a few months ago to the States here. I spent a year and a half abroad and did earn my master's degree from Trinity College Dublin that I'm going to talk about later. And there I did focus on a global perspective of entrepreneurship ecosystems, the process, and outreach education. I definitely am passionate about entrepreneurship and the roles that it plays in economic development and increasing access to opportunity. I am an advocate for increased diversity in entrepreneurship and development of new businesses. My focus is to empower people to create their own lane of opportunity, and I believe entrepreneurship is a great equalizer. So what's keeping me busy these days right now is one, the Danny Dollar Academy. This is a program focused on entrepreneurship, personal finance, and economics for 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders. But what's really...
JENI, sorry to disturb you. Have you shared your screen?
I have. Let's see what it says on my end. Hang on.
We can see it.
How about now?
No.
Okay. It says that I'm...
Okay, so
hang on.
Okay, we can see now.
Got it.
Yeah,
Better?
good. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, good. Please continue.
Okay. So, like I said, what's keeping me busy now on the right, since you can see my screen, is the Danny Dollar Academy. This is a program focused on entrepreneurship, personal finance, and economics, but for 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders. And like I said, what's exciting is after they read the book, they actually form a business. And on the left-hand side, I'm working to scale an education innovation program called the Econ Games. It's a data analytics, research, and economics program, but now I get to work with the Federal Reserve Bank of Cleveland. Like I said, my passion is to increase entrepreneurship for all, especially women. I truly believe it can create your own lane of opportunity, as it did for me. Throughout this program, you're going to learn many skills, strategies, and framework to start and grow your business. But today, my message to you will be how to embrace your entrepreneurial spirit and mindset, especially when times are challenging. When we hear this term a lot, what is an entrepreneurial spirit? What's an entrepreneurial mindset? It's those who have a true passion for building something great and are willing to push themselves to the limits to achieve big goals. But that something great is you. Having this approach will allow you to grow and evolve rather than become stagnant and stale. This way of thinking will empower you to overcome challenges, adversity, make decisions, and take responsibilities for your own actions and your decisions. Then you constantly improve your skills and learn from your mistakes and failures. It's an iteration just like entrepreneurship. So today, I'm going to share 6 tips to embrace your entrepreneurial spirit through my life journey to becoming the entrepreneur that I am today. So let's start with number 1. Connections and support are key. The power to having a family member, a friend, or social support is key. And just like entrepreneurship, this will be an iteration as well. Try to find like-minded people like you're doing here in this program today. You can't always do it alone, so be sure to form coalitions and community. Find partners to help you go further. I'm grateful that I was raised to have an entrepreneurial mindset at home and spirit at home, although it was not apparent to me while growing up. I was born in Seoul, Korea, and I was adopted at 6 months old. To this day, I have not ever met my birth parents or foster mom. Here is a picture of me and my mom in '78 when I was a baby. She and my great-grandmother here on the right flew to Seoul and spent 2 weeks learning about Korea and the culture. Then I was raised in Cincinnati, Ohio in the United States with my sister Laura and my brother Kyle. I am grateful for all that my parents gave me, and more importantly, raised me to be a strong, independent woman. My father is still to this day an entrepreneur and has owned his business. I remember even at a very young age, I was interacting with customers, and my mom still manages a small business and honestly is the backbone of this company that she's at. Growing up, I felt like my mother was really hard on me. I felt that she was tough on me, but what I didn't realize until I got older is she was preparing me for a world where it's tough for women, and for me to be prepared where women in a society are marginalized. She taught me about being financially responsible and independent. She instilled that grit, determination, and perseverance, basically to always work hard, but most importantly, never give up. From my own experience, these lessons my mother taught me prepared me to be an entrepreneur and businesswoman. It's tough being an entrepreneur. A lot of people question you. They say no, and you need to have that inner spark and determination to know that what you're doing is making a difference. I also think it's important because when you face adversity and challenges, you need that inner strength and support system to pull you through as you grow. During my younger years, me and my sister in this photo with the glasses, she was also adopted from Korea. We were the only minorities in our school. I really struggled through school to fit in and find my tribe. I was bullied through my primary education. My experiences made me question who I was and where I came from. And then I allowed that behavior of my classmates to question my own self-worth. I started to really second guess the power of connections if I ever have a support system. Later, I learned it's not worth the time to allow those external voices to validate self-worth. And that takes work to practice, especially with social media and clique formation. I took time to develop deep connections with people and build a two-way healthy relationship with others. I learned that it's the quality of relationships, not the quantity, and this goes for social media as well. As an entrepreneur, you will have people, some closest to you, question and doubt you. Just be sure to have another outlet and network to lean on. If you ever need someone to talk to, reach out to me. But already here in this program today, you have mentors and like-minded people to connect with. Number 2, entrepreneurial spirits question how it can be done and how we constantly can improve. Entrepreneurial spirits can't help themselves. We're constantly curious about how things can be improved, and we always seek to find out the why. Entrepreneurial spirits are not afraid to go against majority to drive change. After high school graduation, I did what society said I was supposed to do, and I went on to college. And then I dropped out, and then I went back again, and then I dropped out again. I had my son at a young age, and as a single mom, I decided I really wanted to do better for myself. I started to question how I could do better, so I committed myself and went back to school and earned my bachelor's degree in business through an accelerated program. I knew I wanted to do better for my son, and I kept questioning my why, and my why was my son. With my parents' support and helping out with my son, I worked full-time, attended school full-time, and worked as a waitress on the weekends. And by the way, I also took on a ton of student loans at the end of my bachelor's degree. Even with my help though with my son from my parents, it wasn't easy. I can remember crying at night. I wanted to quit so many times, and then I would go back to my why. Another why that kept me going was to work as a pharmaceutical rep. I had met a big pharma manager through the power of my networks and instantly recognized this career could allow me to support myself, my son, my financial future, but I had to finish my degree. More importantly, it was a career I can manage as a single mom. I was proud of myself for graduating, and I knew I wanted more. So after graduation, I questioned my future and how it could be better, and I took the risk to become a pharma rep. This was hard because I spent a great deal of time away from my son from college, and then I had to go away for training for 2 weeks without seeing him. This career is very lucrative in the States. I questioned constantly, though, how things could be better in that field, and used my entrepreneurial mindset, and I took off. I won the highest honor award and was able to take my son to Hawaii as part of that reward. So remember, be curious and always focus on your why. I think it's amazing how life can throw a curveball, and in an instant, your entire thinking process changes. You change as a person, and your values and perceptions change. Your entire ideology often changes. Say hello to Snickers and Scout. I eventually met someone, I got married, and my mindset shifted. I thought I had everything I wanted, a proper textbook life. I was married with proper societal roles, mom, dad, son, even these amazing dogs. We decided I would quit working, my pharma sales job, my dream job, and I would start working as a stay-at-home mom and for the family business. And it seemed so picture perfect to me. The reward, though, one benefit was having so much time back with my son when I had to sacrifice so much time studying and working when he was younger. And I felt like life was perfect. My life was perfect for so many years. I had cars, I had an endless budget of spending, I had the big house. But then life threw a curveball from the other end of the spectrum. One day, he decided he wanted a divorce. He just didn't want to be with me anymore. And I remember that day I left for errands, and when I came back, he was sitting there with a suitcase and an apartment already lined up. Years of this perfect life, just when I thought life was good, and out of nowhere, this storm came in and my life changed in an instant. But that traumatic experience changed the course of my life forever and brought me here today with you. I grieved, I cried, I was scared, I screamed, I cried, I was scared, and I was confused. The process was extremely difficult and felt very, very lonely. The people I thought were my support circle shamed me and questioned me. I felt alone. The house was in his name. I had no savings. I had no credit. I had no retirement. I didn't even have a bank account in my own name or even my own car. And one day I realized, I remember waking up that day, it's clear, and thinking, I just don't want to live like this anymore. I needed that time alone, though, to figure that out. I needed that time to shake up and to redefine my life. The universe gave me a gift, and one that was very, extremely painful in the beginning, so I could grow to find myself. So number 3 is entrepreneurial spirits have an optimistic view on possibilities. I started to question how my life could be better, how I could come back better and stronger, and remember what I said earlier. Entrepreneurial spirits and our mindset, we're always thinking about how things can be done better. This was not easy at all. This is hard emotional work. I found a way to survive and thrive after a traumatic experience, from thinking my life was over to learning how to build my own independence and future. My relationships and networks are stronger now because I know who I am and I know the values that are true to me, and I had to take that time to reflect and work out who I am and who I want it to be. I'll say again, this is hard emotional work. I had many times where I wanted to take a breath, and I had to take a break, and I thought about my why, my son again, and to think about all the possibilities of this new life I could create for us. I was my own personal business model. This was a personal business model that kept evolving, and it's still now evolving and growing. Our minds are super powerful at both ends of the happiness spectrum, and it can be extremely difficult to claw our way out of a big dark hole. During this grieving process, I decided that no one ever again would be or have that much power over my freedom, my independence, or my future. I knew the only way to do that was to shift my mindset, and I decided to become an entrepreneur of my own life. This meant I needed to find a passion for building something of my own, and I had to commit myself, and that I was willing to push myself to achieve these new goals in my new life. Entrepreneurial spirits and our mindsets, we don't spend time thinking on what we can't do, we spend time thinking on what we can do. And when you're optimistic about possibilities, excitement will follow, and you'll start to push through those boundaries of what you thought was impossible. This way of thinking anything is possible and having the tenacity to actually accomplishing it. One thing I promised myself, though, is it would be a journey, a marathon and not a sprint. I needed to be agile and open to all new possibilities. And this was scary, but it was also very, very exciting. I started to take stock of my health. I started weight training, but connecting with the outdoors. This is one of the parks in my community here in Kentucky. And I started focusing on my mental health and ensuring that I had the most supportive inner circle in my life. My son and I started to train together. My why started training with me. And all of this ended up giving me more confidence, appreciation for my own self-worth from the inside out. And then I could seek to find my passion of my own. And so number 4, entrepreneurial spirits, we're in tune with our passion. When you're passionate about something, you'll be energized and motivated to push through anything that will stand in the way. Because I fell in love with my own health journey, I started my own personal training and coaching business called JENI. It is my name plus the word energy, and the core concept was about how to transform and harness good positive energy to be you. Once looking for a space for my facility, I fell in love immediately into real estate, and I started my own real estate business, and that included commercial real estate. And I started helping entrepreneurs open their businesses. This organically grew into a consulting business with entrepreneurs that were looking to start, grow, and scale into brick and mortars. And by organically, I also mean that I believe the story of my life and overcoming challenges and energy resonated with women. I started to work with a network of women who wanted to forge their own independence through entrepreneurship. I finally realized my new passion: to educate as many women as possible about entrepreneurial mindsets and entrepreneurship, so hopefully less women will ever have to go through an experience of a divorce like me again. What I realized is by creating my own business, I was giving back to a community of women where we could build camaraderie and connections and networks. During this time, I was empowering women to build their own empire, women who were single, married, and divorced, all amazing women that could relate to entrepreneurial mindsets. And then we naturally and have been working together to uplift each other. Another thing I love doing is working with young women lead and sharing how to embrace an entrepreneurial mindset with young women starting as early as possible. That's also why I love my work with the JENI program. I have bootstrapped all of my businesses, and entrepreneurship is hard. Entrepreneurial spirits don't give up because it gets hard. It's our mindset and our passion that ignites that spark to keep us moving. I decided to build my own network so I could have my connections and support when we needed each other the most. And at this time, I've reached another pivot in my life. Number 5, entrepreneurial spirits, we take risks, but we take strategic risks. Risk-taking does not mean you blindly jump into action. Risk-taking includes strategic moves and understanding that nothing is guaranteed. It's the ability to see long-term, and with this uncertainty, you're able to be agile and adapt to change. So just as my businesses were thriving, I took a risk. I decided to take a year off, and after 14 years from graduating from my bachelor's degree, to go back to school for my master's degree. My son entered his 3rd year of university, and it was time for me. I was yearning for something more, to build my businesses and my brand. I decided to invest in my education. I already had the experience and intuition, so I decided to seek the formal education in entrepreneurship. I applied to many schools and decided to attend the most highly ranked Trinity College Dublin, and I'm proud to be an alumnus there, so I often tell everyone that I meet that my school is ancient and prestigious. But to be more honest, I chose Trinity because of Ireland's commitment to entrepreneurship and innovation as a catalyst for growth. I was intentional about choosing Trinity due to its proximity and connections to startups, incubators, accelerators, but also this international network at the business school. This is a photo of my cohort. I built a network without even leaving the classroom, which is what you can take advantage of here too. I took the time to find out more about their business idea and the entrepreneurship culture, where they're from. And since graduated, I've also been brought on as a startup consultant with some of their ventures. I built another network and support that's scattered around the world. Taking risks can be strategic. Even after losing everything and working so hard to build myself up, I sold my home, I sold my car, and everything in the house, and I moved to Dublin. This first picture is a photo of my home in Dublin. But then again, when I decided to go, there were naysayers. They were whispering in my ear, and they're saying, "Jenny, don't do this. You're crazy. Why are you leaving your son?" And lots more. As human beings, we tend to be easily swayed by the noise and the whispers, and therefore, we may end up not living out our dreams. All of this would be the only place, Dublin, I've ever lived outside of my hometown of Cincinnati. Was I scared? Was I nervous? No, because I worked hard and I let that excitement and I let that passion and optimistic view drown out that negative noise. My inner determination that my mother taught me helped drown out that noise, and I went for it. I believed in myself. I took another pivot in my own life so I can invest in myself. Remember, entrepreneurial spirits are not afraid to go against the majority to drive change. My why even came to Dublin to visit me for Christmas. During that academic year, COVID hit and my classes went online. So I traveled to Oman to meet my partner and my family there. It was the safest place to be. I was able to write my dissertation, finish my degree requirements, and one of the benefits was being able to ingrain myself in the entrepreneurship culture in Oman and in the Middle East. I was invited to speak about entrepreneurship to Omani locals and to contribute to make a difference in their new economy. Here I am with 50-some men presenting knowledge of entrepreneurship, and during that moment I remember that this had come full circle for me. From someone who was terribly hurt by a man to now educating men about my own industry and passion. I'm connected with a new network with several entrepreneurs there, and I was able to learn more about the ecosystems and the great opportunities that are available there. In fact, through all of this, during this time, I decided to launch an office in Oman. Number 6, entrepreneurial spirits execute and we initiate and we reflect. Execution is everything. Ideas, goals, and dreams are all meaningless if you never act on them. Entrepreneurial spirits realize that execution is everything, and above all, to always learn from our mistakes and failures. Some of the best learning in my life, in my opinion, is taking action, getting outside of your comfort zone, and testing and failing and learning. I was in a place where I launched, grew, bought, and sold my businesses with great success and failures. And I think many of us will test, fail, but we can't forget the reflection piece of learning. I've had many self-discovery and learnings due to my experience from being a minority in my community, a young struggling mom, to being happily married and living the perfect life, to divorce chaos, the pain and hurt, then retracting inside of my own mind for reflection, to become me, a strong, confident, and independent businesswoman. During this time of reflection, I've learned that if you can create a circle of support, be curious, have an optimistic view on possibilities, and find your passion, then execute with strategic risk, anything is possible. During that time in my life, I remember thinking I can decide to stay in this dark hole, or I can start building my own future and take this experience to define a new future for me rather than letting it define me. I remember telling myself many times, don't spend time thinking on what you can't do, spend time thinking on what you can do. And what I love about my work now is I'm able to help move entrepreneurs and people forward. I connect with them with where they are in the process, and I help them solve problems. When I spoke earlier about the quality of networks, I like to surround myself with entrepreneurial spirits and people that encourage and inspire me to keep asking myself, how can I do it better? Surround yourself with the people who want you to succeed more than you want to. Here are some of the people that give me that inspiration with their own entrepreneurial mindset. On the left, Denise Pentado is a Brazilian entrepreneur. She founded the Queer Bee. What I love is she is baking cakes to represent the LGBTQ community in Ireland, and they're custom cakes to empower her customers to be free. And she believes and empowers herself as an immigrant and mother to provide the service and be free as well. On the right is Furkan Carrillo, and she's an award-winning founder of Diversen. She's developed the inclusive intelligence concept that is focused on providing practical steps to be a diverse and inclusive role model in the workplace. I love how she's not afraid to go against the majority to drive change and has a passion for leveraging women in tech to empower female founders. The amazing part about Oman is the huge network of women in entrepreneurship. All of these businesses here are owned and founded by women, and this is just a handful of entrepreneurs. And the reason why I love this slide so much is they're all family members. After surviving and thriving from the divorce, I was unsure if I would ever find a partner again. I didn't know if I'd find another circle of support within. But now I have something more. I have a family who is passionate about uplifting me to my highest, and now I have the greatest support network in my life. And finally, SKP. Not only is she a businesswoman, but she is a business leader. I love her passion for people development. I love that she has found a way to share her network with all of you, and she has accomplished so much. She's sharing her knowledge and lessons with you during this program. I'm thankful for her for inviting me here to share my story with you. Embracing my entrepreneurial mindset has allowed me to grow my business. And this is my logo. The symbols represent the letters and Arabic word hilm, which means dream. They also represent the diverse experience that are the building blocks to your story and starting a venture. Dreaming is the first step of entrepreneurship, whether your dream is about building a business, being independent, or turning your passion into your work. Once you dream, what are those steps you need to take to make those dreams a reality? But you're doing that already here in this program. I've told you a lot about my past experiences. This is something that I'm working on for the future. I said earlier that my mission is to make entrepreneurship accessible to all and to make sure more people have the opportunity to create their own lane of independence. So recently, I developed a community series of workshops for entrepreneurs, but I was able to collaborate with a key partner so I could offer these workshops free to the community. I've also been able to mentor students and entrepreneurs with ideation or their growth strategies. But what I enjoy about this role is I'm able to build and manage relationships with community, industries, and organizations to grow and nurture programs in entrepreneurship education. But my hope going forward is I can reach more entrepreneurs through social media tips and share how to embrace an entrepreneurial mindset in the process of entrepreneurship. My future plans are to develop an entrepreneurship community and learning hub at all stages of the community process. This is why I'm so excited to be here today and excited for you. You were carefully handpicked for this program. You're going to increase your entrepreneurial confidence, build a lifelong network, and the skills to build the foundation to start and sustain your business. So congratulations on what you're doing here at the Aspiring Entrepreneur Program. Again, these are all the ways that you can connect with me. I want to thank you again so much for your time and for SKP for having me today.
Thank you so much, Jenny. The pleasure is all ours. And I like the way that your session focused on understanding your why, right? Because the first session, I have spoken to them about self-identity, about understanding who they are. So it just seemed like you knew what our first session was about. Because after understanding who you are, the next thing is for you to understand what is your why. And I love the fact that you shared the story because entrepreneurship is hard. But entrepreneurship is harder for women because as women, we go through so much. And, we all have different realities. You talked about your divorce. We have people who are actually married, but are also going through challenges. As women, we face all sorts and all manners of challenges that even make entrepreneurship harder. But I like the fact that despite all the challenges, you've come out successful. And you not only come out successful, you're also empowering other people. And really, I think that's the message to us all ladies, that irrespective of the challenges, life will throw challenges at us. And it's just part of life. But guess what? We have everything and anything that we need to overcome those challenges, and not only overcome them, to also be a shining light onto others. Thank you so much, Jenny. We really appreciate. So I'm going to go to the questions. Like I told you, we have tons of questions. Because we will not take all the questions, I'd like to first appreciate all those who sent in questions. So we have Mutafela Shanda, Elizabeth Nshoma, we have M Line, we have Nature Zest, we have Onel Batshidi, we have Esther Ajodo, we have Gladys Shombambiri, we have Julian Ngabire, and we have Joy Odhiamo. So these were the questions that we had gotten as at yesterday. We've not checked today, but I'd like to take, so what I've done is to like summarize some of the questions, and I'll just take a few. So the first question I want to take is, it's from Ibukun Olufunke Adesheson. So she said that some personality types are more dominant than others. She's a reserved, task-oriented personality, and she's been told many times that she needs to be bolder and a more dominant person to become an entrepreneur. How can she, having this one, is it true that you need to have a dominant personality to become an entrepreneur? And if it is true, how can she, being a reserved and task-oriented person, be successful in the business of entrepreneurship?
Thank you for your question. I think it takes all different types of personalities to be an entrepreneur. I believe that anyone can be an entrepreneur if you have what we talked about today, the passion and the grit and the networks, willing to take risks. I would maybe find out the different channels of when you want to bring out the boldness or that bold personality. There's a time and a place for that. So I would just think of it as a time and a place thing. Is this a time to be bold? Is it a time to not be bold? And learn to be agile and kind of massage and figure out when is a good time to do those things, because you're going to meet a lot of different people. You're going to meet a lot of different customers, and you're going to need to present your business in many different ways. So I think having different ways of delivering your message is key to that. So you don't have to be one personality to be an entrepreneur.
Okay, thank you for that, Jenny. So I took the second question from Rose Chemiet. Okay, so quite a number of other people. So she said, how can one balance growing a successful startup and also working full time? Is it possible? And someone had also asked another question about balancing it all, being an entrepreneur, being a mom, being a wife, being a daughter. So it's all about balancing. So can you talk about how we can balance it? Being an entrepreneur, an employee, and all our other roles.
Yeah, there is a lot that goes into it, and that's just thinking about the other outside elements, not just within the business itself. But for me, I relied on my networks. I talked a lot about my parents, how they supported me. They watched my son. They helped with things. I rely on my networks now. I showed a picture of my family scattered across the world. So balancing is key, and that's an iteration as well. One day balance may come easier, the next day it may not, but tap into your networks, see how you can use coalitions and community to help you go further.
Thank you, Jenny. And ladies, I know you don't know this, but I'm going to spill the cat out of the bag. Jenny's mom is watching right now, and that's to show you how strong a support system she has. So thank you, Jenny's mommy. We can't see you, but we appreciate you for coming to support us. Thank you. We really appreciate it. So we have another question asking, can mindset be measured? Is there anything like measuring your mindset? And if it can, how do you go about this?
Measuring mindset. That reminds me of another question I got. How do you, and I get it often, is how do you define success or a successful entrepreneur? And since we're talking about entrepreneurial mindset today, I think that you can create measurables for that. There was another question I got about, is it realistic that you can be positive every single day and every moment while starting a business? I think you can create your own measurables, and you can use SMART goals to do that. There are tools out there. But for me, measuring mindset, I'm sure there are some researchers out there that say, yes, you can. I say you define what your measurables are. And if it helps you to have that optimistic view and to have that positive mindset, use those measurables, but don't let them define you.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. So we'll take another question. COVID has happened. so many questions. So the pandemic has really changed the landscape with respect to entrepreneurship, and it's bringing in a lot of dynamics. So how does one build resilience? As in, in entrepreneurship, you're faced with a lot of curveballs that you didn't plan for. It's not in your business plan or in your business model. How do you develop resilience to be able to manage these curveballs?
The way that I built resilience, outside of the big story that I just told you, is waking up, getting into a routine of seeing what's going on in your industry so that it's not so blindsiding when it comes. And a lot of dynamics have changed, but a lot of dynamics will change no matter what in entrepreneurship. Especially if you are in certain industries, those industries are changing daily. So having that passion, focusing on your why, having a network just to talk to about the changes, it will definitely help with that resilience. Just knowing that, you're not the only one going through it and other people are as well. That will definitely help.
Yeah, thanks for that. And I just want to buttress, you talked a lot about network, yes, and that's really why we are the Pan-African Women Empowerment Network, because having a network is key. This organization would not be here today if not for the network of entrepreneurs that I have, who practically pushed me. And really, that's what happened. They were on my case. And, I have a support system. They would call me, oh, Shay, how far? Have you done this? SKP, how far? Have you done this? So they literally were the ones, holding me accountable, yeah, and also providing the network and the support that I needed, to set this up. So ladies, I've said it before. So, this is someone else also saying it. The power of networks. Magic can happen, when you have a good, strong, supportive network. And that's what we're trying to build at Paywen. So I'll go on to the next question. So this person is asking, in your experience, what would you say are the essential things the essential things you need to have as a foundation in building a business? So what are the key foundational things that you must have to have a successful business?
Well, I would say first, exactly what you're doing here. You took a risk, you applied for the Aspiring Entrepreneurs Program, and you will learn a strong foundation here. I know it. But remember to be a lifelong learner, because like I said before, our industry is constantly changing. It's important to keep up and keep learning. So we keep saying this: connect with like-minded professionals on LinkedIn, spend 15 minutes daily to read about the current events in your industry, but networks are key to creating a strong foundation in your business. You're going to learn the skills and the formal things here during your program, but keep creating those strong networks.
Okay. So you see, everything is being tied down to your network, ladies. Your network, your network. I have another question, and I have a feeling it's still going to be tied to the network, but I'll also ask anyways. So the person says, it may not be possible for you to have a positive mindset all the time, that it's really difficult because sometimes some situations just break you, and it's difficult for you to just maintain that positive mindset. What do you do at times like this?
I get this question a lot too, because a lot of people think I'm positive and it's possible to be positive 100% of the time, and that's perfection. And earlier I sort of spoke about perfection. It's just not attainable to be perfect all the time. It is possible, though, to maintain and practice a positive mindset. It just won't always be realistic in those moments like we just talked about. You're going to encounter deadlines, stress, ups and downs, but practicing the entrepreneurial mindset is an iteration. It's a practice. So the other thing is I encourage you to feel all those things, feel all that stress, all the ups and downs. It's temporary, not force the positivity, because that will come after reflection. And then when you can feel all those things, you can come back and talk about everything you went through to empower more connections, networks, and women about what you went through, so we can all feel like we're in this together.
Okay. All right. So let me take some questions from the live chat so it doesn't look like I'm alienating them. So we have this question from Botho. I've pinned it. She says, have you worked with tech startups before? And what are the most common challenges that are faced by tech startups?
So the last, that's a good question. The last tech startup that I worked with was a foundational thing. First, they had some assumptions about who their customers were, and they went out, did their discovery, and found out that they had a whole new customer base. They had to take a pivot. But then a lot of platforms, as you know, are two-sided platforms, and they completely did not recognize the other side of the platform. So that's what happened. That's been my experience with the last tech startup that I worked with. So it goes back to something I know you're going to learn here about customer insights, customer discovery, gaining those insights to really find out who's going to be the users on your platforms.
Okay. Thank you. We have another question from Olushola Shorinolu. She says, how do you know when to throw in the towel? Because sometimes, okay, let me read that here, because I think it's time to try something new. So how do you know when to throw in the towel or when to keep at it?
That's a good question. And I've asked myself that many, many times. I've experienced a lot of sunk costs in my life. It's a cost-benefit analysis. I go through each one. I think about the benefits. I think about the costs. And then I tap into my networks, and I reflect, and I get more feedback, and then I analyze those things. I don't just go on my own feelings. I really do, and I feel like I'm repeating this as I tap into my networks to really get some mentorship and guidance as well.
Okay. All right. So the second part of a question is, how do I separate emotions from my business?
I love this topic because we're taught in a lot of programs, and you see it also on shows, that you're starting a small business, you're starting a business, it's your baby, you're supposed to nourish it and grow it. Well, I don't know if you noticed during my presentation, I got attached to my baby. He was my why through this whole thing. So those subtleties about the language we use is important as well. Yes, it's my baby. There were businesses that I started, and I knew I had to separate emotion. But again, I reached out to my network again, and I said, hey, here's what's going on. This is where I see things going. This is what I've been through. And then I talk it through, and I really figure it out. Having someone else outside that can keep a rational grounding is good for us, very good for us. So tap into your networks.
Okay, so I have another question. You answered this, but I want you to elaborate more on it so that, we can, sometimes when you keep repeating something, people get to really understand it. So you talked about it, but okay, so it's from Trifin. I hope I got that right. She says, I have a question for JENI. What is the one thing that keeps you moving no matter what the challenge you go through?
I don't know if you noticed in my presentation, but my why, I purposely put him as he was growing. And the whys, I have more whys come in, but he's always been my why. And Trevor has now turned into my inspiration of support. I lean on him for rational advice and mentorship as well. He has this another lens to look at things. So what keeps me going is my son still and my family. I have my whys, but also today, my why is all of you, to share my story with you, to hopefully connect with you, and then we can connect later, and maybe tomorrow on down the road, we'll have a connection. We just never know what's going to happen. So even though today my why was more focused on Trevor, I have other whys, and that is what keeps me going every day.
Okay, thank you. So we have another question from Musa Chinula. She says, what has been your biggest mistake, and how did you make it through? And I like this question because, you know, sometimes in our stories, we always share the positives. We never share that for every one positive that you have, there's been loads of negatives or loads of failures that we've, you know, had to pull through. So share with us, please. What has been your biggest mistake, and how did you make it through?
The biggest mistake?
Maybe not the biggest. Okay, share one mistake with us, because it's usually difficult to say.
Yeah,
what is the biggest.
That's a great question. I just wonder if my mom's still on. My biggest, you know, it's interesting. I used to say my biggest mistake was quitting my dream job at the time, the pharmaceutical rep, when I got married. And then I would say, oh, then it was a mistake to get married. But mistakes are here to teach us so many things. And what I've learned from that mistake is I was meant to get married and go through that divorce because I've come out actually finding myself. And that's a deep, deep mistake that I'm sharing with the world. But in a business entrepreneurship sense, a lot of mistakes I've made were just in reference to the question before, how do you know when to throw in the towel? I've definitely held on to businesses and business ideas, websites, for way too long. So I've learned through those mistakes also on how to move forward, and then also how to mentor and consult with different people and entrepreneurs as well. So off the top of my head, those would probably be the two most relatable to today.
And from my own experience, you know, just adding to that, you know, sometimes the things that we call mistakes are actually building blocks to our destination. And I don't believe anything happens per chance. I believe that those things happen to teach us a lesson in a way that we would internalize it, and we will take the lessons to navigate to our future. So, I mean, these things happen, but yeah, they're learning point. And from my own experience, I find out that until I learn the lesson that, you know, I'm supposed to learn from a particular mistake, I keep making those mistakes. I'll keep making those mistakes until you learn that lesson, and then you move on from that.
I agree. And I think that's the power of reflection. And I learned through all those experiences, just like I spoke about before, that subtlety of language. I would stop saying, why did this happen to me, to me, to me? And instead it was, why did this happen for me? So just like you said, the building blocks to our destination. And it really is.
I like that, you know, reframing the question from why did this happen to me to why did it happen for me? I mean, that's a huge, you know, paradigm shift there. Thank you. So someone's asking, is there an age limit for women to develop the entrepreneurial spirit?
I love this question. No, not at all. In fact, that's why I brought up the Danny Dollar programs, working with 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders about entrepreneurship and entrepreneurial mindsets and spirits, and then speaking with young women lead about entrepreneurship and entrepreneurial mindsets. So I don't think, no, not too young at all.
Okay.
Or too old.
You know, those are one of the things that we tried to do when we were selecting. You know, most accelerator programs will select only women aged between 18 to 35. But I asked myself, why put a cap at it? Yes, we have some people here who are almost 60. Yeah, we have a lot of people who are between 50 and 50. I specifically decided that yes, we would admit 100 people who are older than 40. You know, it's also a test run for me to see that,
Yeah.
okay, if we admit 100 people over 40, between 40 and 60, let's see how, you know, that experience is going to be for them. Let's see if they'll be able to use it. But ladies, you're never too old and you're never too young. Yeah. Okay.
100%.
All right. Someone says, is it okay to have more than one why?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think I mentioned a ton of whys just today, and sometimes your why might change to just get through the day. You know, I was telling you, SKP, that I'm an early riser,
Yeah.
and it's usually 4 a.m., but I like to snooze. So I had to set my alarm today for 3:30. And my why, it sounds crazy, right? 3:30 a.m. My son is probably just coming home, but I'm waking up. And what was great was knowing that my why is to be here with all of you today. And it was easy to wake up. I got up in a great mood. It was great.
All right, then. Thank you. So many questions. I'm struggling to. Okay, so someone had asked question on how do you manage the challenges on gender inequality? You know, we have been faced with these things in every way. So how do you manage those challenges?
Yeah, so I definitely go back to the why. I go back to my power of network. So I surround myself with women. I have, and it goes back to everything I said today, I have an optimistic possibility on what we can accomplish, what we can do together. I have passion. I take risks. I on social media, I try and spread the knowledge and the things I'm doing, especially here today, just to put myself out there and take strategic risks and really being out there and helping others and being in the thick of it.
Huh. Two questions I'm going to ask, you know, in subsequent, and this is okay. So quite a number of questions have been asked around network, but I'm going to just summarize all the questions. So really, what I think people are asking is, what do you look out for in deciding who to include in your network? What are those things to look out for?
Yeah, so there was a time where I said, you know, after I went through a lot of experiences, I'm like, that's it. If you don't fit these boxes, you are not in my network. And I was looking for perfection again. And what I've learned is even having a network and connections, it's an iteration. So as you grow, hopefully they're growing with you. And as they grow, you grow with them. And then when they need you, you're there. When you need them, you're there. So it's an iteration. It can be daily when you want to work with your network. It's not, what I learned was it's not a checkbox of what I want in my network. It actually is more of a feeling. Am I getting good vibes? It's a two-way relationship. So it's not so much what it is, it's how are you in that connection with someone else in that network. You need to contribute something and they need to contribute something back to you. And like I said, it is about the quality, not about the quantity. I'm very careful and deliberate, even on social media, who I want in my network.
Absolutely. I like what you said. It's about the quality and not necessarily the quantity. I mean, that just resonates well so much with me. I have limited friends, but within that network of friends, they're really valuable people. And I usually tell people, I don't think there's anything I really want that I don't have 1 degree or maximum 2 degrees from my network. So
Yeah.
it's actually more about the quality and not the quantity.
Yeah.
So this is a $1,000,000 question that I think every facilitator at any women's event is always asked.
Oh
So
my
we're going
gosh.
to ask you,
Okay.
how do you experience imposter syndrome and how do you deal with it?
Mm-hmm. We're human and everyone experiences this. You may not know that's what it's called at the time, but we will all go through this at some point. And my answer is tap into your network. Reach out to someone. You're in this program, you will have someone else that is going through it. I can guarantee you that if you reach out to me, I will respond to you. We are all in this together. So if you have those little tingles or those feelings of imposter syndrome, for me, that's what it feels like, this tingling, like, oh, what's going on here? Reach out to someone. Call on your network. Text someone. You don't have to say, I'm experiencing imposter syndrome. Just say, hey, I have this presentation coming up on Wednesday. I have to get up early, and what if this, what if that? And your network, I guarantee you, they'll say, you got it. No big deal. Do you want to practice it with me? So tap into your network.
And I think I'll also share a story, around that. There was a time in my life when, when I wanted to shift from being a paid employee to, going into entrepreneurship. And I was just scared, right? I was really scared. And I just said, you know what? I'm not doing entrepreneurship again. So I called one of my friends who's a recruiter, and I'm like, hi, Leke, I'm in the job market. And he went, what? You? How? And he spent 20 minutes. And all he did in the next 20, in that 20-minute conversation was how if he could be an entrepreneur, then I would be the biggest, entrepreneur, because I've got, literally telling me that I've got more than he has, and he's so successful in business. So I have absolutely no reason. And, that conversation was so powerful. It was so moving. And this was someone I'd not even spoken to in more than a decade. I just knew that he was a recruiter, and I just said, let me just reach out to him. And then the words of affirmation that, he spoke gave me a lot of boost, and it was at one of those low periods in my life. And it gave me just that needed boost to, just forge ahead, So it's really important. Thank you for that. So M-Line is saying, sometimes as women, we don't support each other as much. How do you ensure to support others and have them support you back?
Okay, so I think we have all felt this way at some point. And I'm gonna go again and say, when you have a network, I've had experience where I have felt that way. And normally what's happening is they might be having that moment of imposter syndrome. I don't know. So what I usually do is I just talk to them. I ask them what's going on. I have a genuine conversation about what's going on here. I learned a while back, like I said, I went through that checkbox of I only want these kinds of people in my life. And I even went through a time where I didn't want anyone. I said, I can do this all by myself. I don't want anyone. And I found out that those two things don't work well with me. So, when you have your network and the quality of network, we're all human. We all have added value to what can complement you in moments of need. So reach out to them. There are going to be naysayers. There are going to be people in your ear. I had it just a year ago, judging me, saying you can't do it, or why are you doing it? And I went for it. I drove into my why. I knew my passion. I was true to myself, and I went for it. So my advice would be to believe in yourself, and then find someone in your network that can uplift you.
Absolutely. And, I like what you say, especially, sometimes people are also going through things that you don't know about. So it's not necessarily that they do not want to support you. It's just that they themselves are struggling with things that you do. So I like what you said about reaching out and having those crucial conversations to say what's going on with you, right? And then
Yeah.
from there you can then begin to, dissect whatever the issues are. So we have another question. In a business you co-own, how do you keep motivation if you have a discouraging partner?
Ooh, that's a good one.
I believe so.
So that's a good one. It reminds me of a question I get a lot is how do you, what's the criteria or the checkbox to finding a co-founder or a partnership? And it all depends. So it's really knowing who you are and then finding out what your strengths and weaknesses are, finding people that can complement you. But there will be times where your partner will need an uplift, and there are going to be times when you need it. So finding, it's another balance thing, finding that balance of the relationship and the business and the partnership, that is going to be an iteration all the time. I encourage you to just communicate, have open dialogue. And then, if you all having a conversation, tap into your network to bring someone rational and grounded into the conversation.
Okay, all right then. So we'll just take about 3 more questions because I think we need to allow you go. So Esther says, how do you handle family and friends that don't want to pay for services that you render? It's been a major challenge for her.
I love this question. I work with, I think this is common for women too, right? Like a lot of people think, oh, she started a business out of her passion. And since it's her passion and she loves what she's doing, why should she be paid? And what I do is I work with entrepreneurs and I teach them how to signal to be paid. I teach them, and by signal, I mean, how are you telling the world that this is your price, this is your business, this is your service, and you have to pay to get the service. And I think you're going to learn a lot about this in your program, about the skills and the techniques to do this. But it's another balance of signaling to the world, this is my passion and this is my why. But also, I have a business and I need to make money. I need to make a profit, and this is what it is. So I think you're going to learn this through your program, how to signal that, but stand true to who you are, your why, your passion, and put it out there that you deserve to be paid.
Okay, a lot of the questions, ladies, I think you should be patient. We've got 6 months. They're asking a lot of questions, and a number of the questions that are being asked are going to be dealt with in so many of the other sessions. Okay, so let's take it easy on JENI, right? She's done a fantastic. So let's make this our final question, right? So it's from Rudo. Rudo, I think she deserves an award. She sent in questions before in the session. I think this must be like the 3rd question she's asking, and I'm just taking this. Okay, so she said, do you ever feel that your dream is ridiculously big, so big that no one would ever think of helping you attain it?
Yes. Yes, I do. And a common theme, I can remember being young and just dreaming. I mean, I spent a lot of time by myself. I told you all that I was bullied through school, and I would spend a lot of time by myself. I can remember dreaming. And I can remember a lot of people always saying, oh, you just dream, you're never going to get it. Or that dream is too much. It's not too much. Your dream is not too much. My dreams were not too much. I even got it when I wanted to go away to school 2 years ago. They're like, why are you doing that? That's your dream, to go back to school? It's okay. It's your dream. Tap into your network. Find the people that want you to succeed more than you want to succeed. And you will find someone that will resonate with your dreams as well. And during that process, you might teach them to go after their dreams. I hope that answers the question, but yes, I've had that, and it's okay because I'm going for it.
Okay, so thank you so much, Jenny. Do you want to have any final remarks?
I'm just so happy to be here. This was such a good time. I'm honored to spend time with all the women and to be with you again, SKP. So just thank you so much. This has been fun, exciting, and an honor.
Thank you so much. The pleasure is all ours. Please send our warm regards to your mom. We love her. We appreciate her. And then, ladies, I see a lot of questions. I don't even think I've been able to scroll down to all the questions. But one of the things I also realized is that, so some people are asking that why were the questions not asked? Your questions were not asked because I feel, or I also know that many of the other sessions we're going to take would answer those questions. So I ask for your patience. And there are just so many questions. We would take as many questions as possible during each of those live sessions. So, ladies, thank you so much. That'll be all for this week. Look out for your reading materials that will be sent to your email boxes. And I ask that you all join the Telegram group and also make sure that you read your emails because we'll be sending a lot of updates via email. So please check your emails on a daily basis so that you keep abreast of all the updates from us. Once again, we say thank you, Jenny. It's been an awesome and most importantly, we like the genuineness with which you shared your story and to let every African woman here know that they've got all it takes. They have everything that they ever need in themselves and in their network to be all that they ever want to be. Thank you so much, everyone. That will be the end of today's session. God bless you. Please stay safe.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you.
Bye, Jenny.